Well, hello again, sports fans. I'm pleased to report that the Ranger and F405 board with INAV is continuing to be a success story. After a successful flight out to the mountain, and even more importantly back from the mountain yesterday, I've decided to have a go at a bit of distance. I haven't done any further tweaking apart from installing a roll gimbal for the Mobius camera on the front of the Ranger. It's after lunch and I have the place to myself. It's a nice sunny afternoon with about a 5 to 10 knot wind blowing out of the north. And the plan for this afternoon is to fly out about 5 kilometres to the south and come back in one piece. Simple. I've had to move the battery back a fair bit to compensate for the weight of the gimbal on the nose. I'm a little bit nervous about whether or not the change centre of gravity will affect the launch, but it goes off nicely enough. She does want to drop a little bit more when I let go of the sticks, but it's not too difficult to handle, and I fly up to a reasonable altitude so I can slip it into loiter mode and walk back to the base station. I keep a close eye on it for a couple of circuits, but the extra weight doesn't seem to be bothering the INAV loiter mode at all. You can see that the gimbal is doing a pretty good job of keeping the Mobius level when you compare it to the actual attitude of the plane in the insert. The amount of fuselage appearing in the bottom of the screen is also a pretty good indication of how hard the gimbal's working. So I get myself set and slip it into cruise mode and head off to the south to the left of the mountain there. I have second thoughts though and decide I'd be better off picking up some altitude by heading into the wind before I turn around to the south and head out into tiger country. Running the Ranger on 4S makes a pleasant change when it comes to gaining altitude relatively quickly. I'm looking for about 300 metres just to make sure I clear the foothills of the mountain. And once I'm there, I slip it into 3D cruise mode and turn back towards the south to follow the river valley. Once I'm lined up, I basically just let go of the sticks and let the Ranger navigate itself. I'm pretty impressed with how stable it is. There's not much difference between the picture from the flight camera and the stabilised footage from the Mobius while it's in cruise mode. I'm just coming up on the gorge and I've decided to test that the return to home is working before I go any further, just to be on the safe side. The Ranger makes a nice gentle turn towards home and hardly loses any altitude at all and settles in a nice level stable course for home. I let it come back most of the way, but I don't really need to see it go into its loiter pattern, so I slip back into 3D cruise mode and turn around and head back out. Once again, when I'm lined up on the course I want, I'll just let go of the sticks and let it fly itself. So everything's going very well. I've got a pretty strong video picture. The plane seems to be looking after itself well. Life is beautiful. On previous flights out in this direction, I quite often get some video breakup around about 3 or 4 kilometres when I'm alongside the mountain, and today is obviously no different. I'm pretty happy with the way the ring is flying though, so I decide I'll just push on through it. It usually only lasts for a half a kilometre or so and then comes good. I am flying a little further east than I normally do, so I do have a bit of a twiddle with the antennas, and that seems to do the trick. Then I get another little glitch in the side while I'll move back out to the west to the course I normally fly. So I'm coming up on the 5 kilometre mark, and despite my plan, everything's going so well that I'm very tempted to just push on through. I seem to have plenty of battery left. The RSSI strength is still nice and high, so what could possibly go wrong? For some reason though, I'm suddenly overcome by an attack of common sense and decide to turn around and come back anyway. I actually use the rudder for this turn, and as you can see, it is very smooth. There's very little difference between the flight camera footage and the stabilised Mobius footage. At this stage of a flight, I generally just flick the return to home switch and have a bit of a relax while it brings it home. But today I just lined the return to home arrow up straight ahead and let go of the sticks and left it in 3D cruise mode. Judging by the stability of the picture on the monitor, I'm starting to wonder whether I was wasting my time putting a gimbal on the Mobius. Bearing in mind that I'm heading into probably a 10 or 15 kilometre an hour headwind, I just can't get over how stable she is. So we're just coming out of the gorge in a more open country, which is always a relief, particularly for those who've had to go into the gorge after a down plane. I still haven't had to touch the sticks since setting the course for home. So we're less than a kilometre out, and I've still got over half the battery left, which is just unheard of for me. One of the things I set up on INAV was a fail-safe mode, which I haven't actually tried. So I navigate a bit out to the west and check that I've got enough throttle set to ensure that the return to home will get me there in the event that I need it. It does seem to be working, though the throttle does seem a little low. Something I will check again at some stage in the future. So I waggle the aileron stick to take it out of fail-safe mode, and it looks like I waggled them a little bit too violently. But no harm done. As soon as I let go of the stick, she settles herself down. So at this stage I'm looking around for something else to do. I'm very worried about landing with half a tank of fuel, so I decide I'll go and have a look at the big river to the east, the Murrumbidgee. I haven't actually flown out in that direction very much at all, so it'll be a bit of an explore. So on this heading the wind's coming from the left, and it has actually stiffened up a little bit, so it is having a discernible effect, but hardly a problem. I don't go too far because I have experienced radio problems flying out in this direction before. But my attention is taken by that dirt road running across the ridge on the right hand side of the screen. I'm thinking it might be worthwhile going for a drive along there to see if I can identify a suitable launch area so that I don't have to fly around the mountain every time I want to fly down this valley. Anyway, I decide I've done enough for a first flight out this way, and decide to slip it back into 2D cruise mode and start shedding some altitude in preparation for setting up for a landing. Once again, I'm tempted to continue on down the river, but I resist the urge and head straight across to the field. I actually have a couple of unsuccessful attempts at landing off the monitor in cruise mode. It did seem at times that the Ranger was actually fighting me. But then I suppose it is called cruise mode, not fly around and land mode. I haven't bothered including the footage in this video, but in the end I just slipped it into manual mode and landed it by eye. And we're down safely. These stats that pop up after the flight are a bit of an added bonus. I haven't had these before in my previous flight controllers, so they're quite interesting. Well, you've got to be pretty happy with that.